Let's do it.
Yeah. It's been a little bit since we've talked about business stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about the tactical games last week and talked about business in that, but we haven't really talked about, I don't know, it's all the same, I guess. So maybe we have, but
Yeah.
we've been kind of out of our normal subject a little bit.
Episode has a lot of listens. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, the stats on it.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. I don't know if it was the title or, I mean, clickbait, like we talked about.
Yeah. I wonder,
clickbait, but
well, that one had a lot of listens, and then you showed me that the Navy SEAL ones had more than the normal listens. So I wonder if kind of the title, the stuff in the title, maybe or something. I don't know. I think I have shared a little bit more on the tactical games one as far as on my social media. I don't know if that's helping or not, but probably not. It's not like I have a lot of social media followers.
Well, what's cool about it though, this is kind of like on Instagram. You don't want to get someone that has 1 million followers because they're going to cost a lot as an influencer for business. They're going to cost a lot of money and they'll get you some business. You want to focus on people that have like 15 to 25,000 followers and, you know, add value to them. So sponsor them, give them money, give them a product, something like that. But their followers are way more like avid followers than those who have millions of people on there.
They're just kind of passive and like, I mean, what's Kim Kardashian up to today? Or what's the bikini pic or whatever, you know, like they ain't there to buy her makeup, you know, probably.
Yeah. But specialized Nancy, you know, you're there because it's specialized Nancy. And so then when Nancy says what to do, you want to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's perfect. What we've talked about with Cash Calf is you don't need a ton of people in order to start a successful business. You know, you just need a niche group of people that appreciate your product and your movement or whatever it is that you're doing and engage with them.
Yeah.
And that's where fulfillment comes from because you're talking to like-minded people anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. The like-minded. And then you're just not trying to hit the globe. There's the niche market's the place to be.
Yeah.
You know, as far as fulfillment and getting your product out there, finding an influencer, doing whatever it is, just a small group of people. And you can get real. Let's just pull an example out and get really, really niche. So say construction, framing. Now start moving down.
Framing, or even, framing, well, like greenhouses.
Yes. Yep. Then high-end
they
in Jackson.
Yeah. Yes. With old Barnwood.
Yes. Yeah. You start.
You know what I mean?
You do one of those projects for somebody. Someone's going to go, man, that looks really good. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, here's a real life example. Kira's uncle. So my wife's uncle, her aunt's husband, he's a welder. He's really good. So he did our railing and he's going to do some more. And he told Kira just today, actually, he's like, I love doing railings. I actually want to just do railings. So welded metal residential railings. It's niche, but he did ours and people are like, that's great. Can I get his number?
Who did that? Yeah.
We're talking in Southeast Idaho. Now move that to New York.
Yeah.
Well, then there's
he can build them here and ship them there. You know, like you just, and you start putting that work up on social media and people see it, you know, like sky's the limit.
Yeah. I love following woodworking and metalworking things on Instagram.
And like YouTube, you see those YouTube videos where they take like an old stump and like put it on the lathe thing or whatever and make a dish out of it or something.
Yeah.
Like, I would make that chisel like come off and hit me in the eye or something like that. It'd kill me, but those guys do an awesome job of it.
Well, and then those bases are those bases are sold for $10,000. The tables like this that they've done the epoxy work in.
Yeah.
You're talking like a 6x8 table. They're like $10,000-$12,000. But then you look at the work and you're like, that's incredible. And there's a lot of product that goes into it. A lot of epoxy and stuff like that. But
well, and all those guys are self-taught.
Yeah.
You know, or they kind of had a background in a skill and then they just figure it out, you know, like we've talked about Mike on here that does Cerakote. He does a very high quality job.
So cool.
And I asked him like, where did you go to learn that stuff? Oh, I just taught myself, just playing around, you know, in the shop. The epoxy guys and everything else, same thing. Guaranteed. They just taught themselves. I mean, you ain't gonna go to school for that.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you even go?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Make your own trade school.
Yeah,
Be your own trade school.
for real.
YouTube.
And that kind of, goes into my tangent today is on value. So I had a couple of experiences the last week, actually this morning, that and not that it's an isolated incident, like it's something that, so I have a property development company. We've got a subdivision we've developed. It's kind of still in the process, but so we've had lots for sale and most of them have sold and we've got a few left or whatever. But like today, and this isn't just, like I said, not isolated. It's gone on for the last 6 months as we've been going through this, but you always get comments of people that are like, I can't believe that a chunk of land is selling for that, or whatever, which was the kind of the comment today, which I don't care. Like, it's great. Actually, the negative post actually gets my sales post more traction. So it's like, bring on the hate. I love it because it keeps showing up in people's newsfeed, it's awesome. But just responding to some of those people trying to educate them, so like I broke it out and I'm like, okay, I didn't say this, but number one, obviously from your post and your attitude in your post, looking at something as just a chunk of land, you're not looking at the value of that, like, is the Eiffel Tower just on a chunk of land? No, it's not on a chunk of land. So, I mean, I think it's a good lesson. Look further than the initial reaction, don't just look at the price of something and go, oh, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, what's the value of that thing?
Yep.
When you look at a piece of property, what is, and I mean, this is just an example. You could do this with anything, but okay, like there's value in the asphalt that went into that.
Yeah.
There's value in the utilities being run to the lots. There's value in, a road maybe that's maintained by the city or the county. There's different things that add value to that make it more than just a chunk of land.
Yeah. And all the organization that went into putting those things in.
Yeah.
Like even time.
Yeah, time and yeah, for sure. And then also there's other ways that we can look at value too of, okay, well, it's right next to a brand new school or going to be a brand new school, or it's right next to, or it's in a town where Amazon's building a big distribution center maybe or something, like I think a lot of times we look at the price of something and we just nonchalantly brush it off or whatever.
Yes.
When really successful people are determining the value of something and then they look at the price second.
Sure.
What's the value of that piece of property? Oh, the value's $500,000. Okay. Obviously you have to do research and stuff to figure that out. But okay, say that piece of property you estimate is worth $500,000. It's selling for $300,000. Buy that all day long.
Yeah.
And so, whereas I think people sometimes too go the other direction and they think, oh, well, the cheapest thing is the best deal. And it's not, because it's right next to maybe the sewer plant or something, and there's a reason why it's that cost.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was just I just was thinking about value a lot this morning.
Yeah. Well, you talk about all of that. It's easy on both sides. So if you've never been in that world, and so you haven't had anything to develop or look at, or maybe you've never even looked at a piece of property to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Someone gets on there and they go, well, there was a 2-acre piece of property for 40,000 back in the day.
Yeah.
And so now it's 200,000. That's nuts. Well, but they're not thinking about all the stuff that you just said, all of the organization and time and everything that went into it. Also, just, we shouldn't be that person on the internet. Like, just be a good person. Like, why is it that cost? And I know
there's something to learn there.
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh, that's bullcrap that property is worth that much. Why is that property worth that much?
Yeah.
Maybe I can find something else and I can go and add value to it and make it that much worth that much too.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
No, you're totally right. We're just privately selling that, which is
Mhm.
about the same acres as your
Mhm.
subdivision.
Yeah.
But your subdivision has so much involved, like, all of the amenities that you get that people will have to do on that piece that we're selling. So we kind of keep dropping the price like lower and lower. And you guys are holding steady. And I'm like, good job. Like, that's exactly what you should do because the value's there.
Well, but it's interesting too, though, because there's different values.
Different
Like, it's not a one, it's just
Very
not a
true.
one size fits all. Like, here's two maybe similar properties, but yours has a lot more isolation, you're in an area that's really cool up on a hill and stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
like, it is
Yeah,
kind of
interesting.
hard to
Yep.
determine value because what one person might deem as valuable, another person doesn't,
Very true.
and back and forth. So it's kind of a moving target in a way that, I mean, how do you ever figure out value? But there is ways.
Yeah.
And I think just being in learning that is important. I think.
Then what you're saying, price and value are not the same thing.
No, no,
So-
not at all. I think value, and we get so hung up on price.
Mhm.
Like, even look at stocks, like, like, or people think, like your example of, oh, well, property was $40,000 for 2 acres
Yeah.
5 years ago. It's very expensive right now, which, I mean, obviously in property, like, everything's expensive right now. But show me something that's gone down in that amount of time.
For sure.
Like, does that mean that Coca-Cola, since it was $5 at one point in time and now it's, I don't even know what it is, $50 or something like that, maybe, that you're never going to buy it until it gets back to the $5 price? Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's never going to, it might get there, but most likely it's not going to live to get there.
Yeah. I think in our monetary system and the printing of money rampantly, we won't get there.
Yeah.
It
And
is
that's the
interesting.
key, is we have a system
Yeah.
that is dependent upon price inflation of
Yeah.
everything.
Well, and if we go off of historical data, just historical, it's not going down in value.
Yeah.
Like real estate right now, it might dip, but hold it for another 10 years.
Right.
It's not going down.
Exactly. Yeah. Time horizon's huge.
Yeah.
Like, even with crypto right now, like, I've got some crypto that I'm like, shoot.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. And I'm not big, like, I don't know that much about it. I bought it because everybody's, it's kind of a bandwagon thing.
That's
Yeah.
what I did.
But I'm like, shoot. But then I'm like, well, wait 5 years. If you would have bought, so the last rally in crypto, what was the high like before the $60,000 one, like 25,000?
Yeah, usually every 4 years is about triple of what it was 4 years previous.
So say you bought it at the 25,000 or whatever it was at the beginning of last time, and it dips down to like 5.
Mm-hmm.
But you held it onto it for another 2 years and it hit 60. That's like a 4 or 5 year gap. You still look like a genius.
Yep.
And I know cryptos may be the exception, but even housing, like, say you bought it 2008, you weren't over leveraged, so you could still make your payments and everything, and it goes down and it dips. Now you're sitting just fine.
It is crazy.
So I mean, I think you're right. I think the time horizon too, if you can hold something for 10 years versus trying to flip it in a year.
Yeah.
There's not very much. It's easy to win in buying assets,
It is. Just hold them.
Yes,
and they're going to go up. Kira, yesterday. So we're remodeling our house and it's costing way more than we had originally thought. Like, pretty much
crazy,
pretty much double.
Yeah.
Like, by the time we put it all together, and we had some money set aside, and we're gonna, surpass that. And so I was like, hey, we're gonna have to sell some crypto. And she's so cute. She's like, well, I don't have any other that I can, because she already sold some. She's like, I don't have any other because I'm not in profit on them. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because her thought is, I'm not going to take a loss.
Yeah.
Because if I wait 6 months, a year, it's going to be well within profit.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I was like, that's cool, because it's a
that's
great
awesome.
mentality with assets.
Absolutely.
Just wait.
Yep. Yeah. Patience. Like, we get so caught up in back to price, or whatever. Like, it's an emotional kind of roller coaster, up and down. And like, it's just interesting how we want that immediate gratification.
Yeah.
But if you can put that off and sit for 10 years, like look at Warren Buffett. Like he didn't do anything that fancy or special. I mean, obviously he's a smart guy, and there was some things that he over the years, ways that he bought stock and everything else, but he just kept buying stock.
Yeah.
Like I watched his documentary, and the same, like that's kind of what he says. Like in the beginning, he's like, I just kept buying and it went lower. And like they were even trying to kind of force him out when he was buying, I think Berkshire, when he was first trying to buy it. And so they kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And he's like, I just kept buying, just kept buying, just kept buying, and you do that over a long, he's done that for what, 60 years or more.
He's old.
So
isn't he like 90 now? And he started investing when he was like 20. It's like 70 years.
I don't know. I have no idea, but it's a huge amount of time that he's accumulated and reinvested and everything.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Coke and you mentioned the price. And so then Warren Buffett pops in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact prices, but if it did go from 5 to 50, that's a 10x, which is great. But it's not billionaire great. In my mind, you're like, okay, well, that means to have $1 billion, I would have had to have 100 million. But because it has dipped and gained and dipped and gained, and he's bought the dips, and then they've taken profits and reinvested in dividends and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And he won't even touch. Well, I think he does now, but for a while he wouldn't even touch tech stocks. He's like, no. Coca-Cola is good. It's solid.
Yeah.
He became a multi-billionaire off of the safe stocks. So it's pretty cool. Consistency.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it too, say it does grow over time, those dividends grow.
Yeah.
And so say your cost basis is $5, you paid $5 for a Coke stock, and you can afford to hold on to it for 20 years. And over that 20 years, they're raising their dividends. And so, like maybe Coke dividend right now is $1.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, well, I get $1 in dividends for buying a $50 stock today. Doesn't look that great, but his cost basis is $5.
Yep.
So just holding that and getting the dividend, it's like a 20% return a year. And I don't know if those are the exact numbers, but just as an example, the power of that,
Yeah. Well, McDonald's right now with the whole like Russia and Ukraine thing, their stock has dipped. Is McDonald's really going to go out of business?
No.
Yeah. So you should be buying McDonald's stock. Did you know they're continuing to pay employees?
Oh, really? Like in Russia? Really?
I actually thought it was pretty cool. Like there's not a lot of good that I have to say about McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. How easy and how easily could they do it to just pull out of the company or the country altogether?
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, we're out.
Yeah, go find a job somewhere. But instead, they're continuing to pay them. It ends up being some estimate of $34 million or something like that.
So it's not huge for them.
For them, it's not huge.
But it is cool.
But for each individual who's like, I don't know where to find work in Russia right now, who's working at McDonald's, and it's pretty cool.
Well, and I think there's been a lot of negativity around. There is some big corporations that obviously don't have people's best interest in mind, but and a lot of negativity around that for a lot of years. But there really is some companies that have done some cool things.
Yeah.
Like you look at some of the stuff that Elon Musk has done and things like that. Like it's just cool to see that companies do want to do good by their employees, I think, for the most part.
I agree. I think the human is basically good. If you're to just pull a human from the street, they're probably good. So sometimes when we group up and elect the crappy ones, I don't know. It's almost like the poo rises or whatever. I don't know.
It's crazy. Well, it is. Government's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, and we didn't really like. It's funny because we're all over the place on this podcast.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's it. Have you seen? I saw it somewhere. But do you know the band Disturbed? Like was popular when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Probably you too. But but they had what's that song called? I just heard it over the last week and watched their music video. Like it's totally like it's a cartoon, but it shows like jets flying and war. Like basically the message is like we let governments get away with starting wars and stuff, and we need to not let them do that. And it was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow, that could totally be like, you see that kind of stuff on the news right now, like it's crazy. It's interesting. Some of the foresight, that once you start digging into some of this stuff, it's like the information's all around us and people know it. It's just once you start looking for it, then you can actually see it, but
it is crazy. Yeah. Like you said, the foresight. System of a Down was also big in high school. They had BYOB, bring your own bombs.
Oh yeah.
Like that, as far as songs go, and all against big government and the establishment. It's kind of funny because at this point, a lot of those popular bands are like, that government that we sung about. Well, we fully support them now, and
yeah,
please do whatever they tell you to do.
Yeah, they're all backpedaling.
It's really interesting. Which it could be, me, and I know you. It's easy to get off into the weeds of this stuff. But I like what you were saying about value, and I think as far as the subdivision goes, that's a great example. But really, that moves into every single part of our entire life. Ends up being value creation.
For sure.
Whether it's a spouse, whether it's kids, whether it's a job, like you're creating and shifting value, and it's just what it is. Like relationship with kids. If I'm not adding value to them, then I'm going to be known as like the kind of crappy dad. Like, yeah, my dad wasn't around. We didn't do much. We didn't this, we didn't that. Well, it's because I'm not there adding value. In a marriage, if I'm not consistently trying to add value to our marriage, what's going to happen? Well, the spark's going to fizzle. Like it's all about value creation.
Yeah.
You walked in and you're like, hey, does that Alpha Brain work? Well,
yeah.
I might hope Joe Rogan doesn't listen to this. I might not ever order it again. I didn't really feel much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing against them. For other people, it might work great. Maybe it's placebo. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, and back to the thing that everybody values things differently.
Yes.
Back to the two pieces of property, like different people are going to value those maybe. Same with, other products. Different people value them differently, just depending on experience and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and a good lesson there, I think, is to be open to things and the differences in value. That one guy hops on, oh, that's a ridiculous price. Well, but he might be on an iPhone that cost him $1,300.
Yeah.
And he's okay with that.
Yeah.
And that price going up because he understands what the value of an iPhone could be.
Or it seems normal. He's always, he's looking at it every year or something instead of, I don't know.
Yeah. Value, price is only an issue. I can't talk today. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. I don't know who said that quote, but it's good. Price really is only an issue in the absence of value. I'll buy anything if the value is there. But to me, a yacht that's worth $1 billion, it's actually not really valuable to me right now. I would do nothing with a yacht, nor do I have the disposable income to even run a yacht.
Yeah.
So to me, that $1 billion yacht is valueless. For me, it is valueless.
You could just sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as personal value.
Yep. And then if I sold it and I got the $1 billion, then we would probably be buying real estate and hiring managers for that real estate and, being able to move.
They have more value to you than having the yacht.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. But for Jeff Bezos, he's able to pay for the captain and the co-captain and the this and that, and he's adding value to all of them. So it is valuable, just very different values.
Yeah. Yeah. No, value is such a cool thing when you really think about it, because value can be something unique to your, you can create the value that you want to create. Like another example I thought of that I was thinking about yesterday, because I was scraping wallpaper off of a house. We bought a house for a rental property or whatever and fixing it up. And everybody's like, oh, wallpaper. I hate doing wallpaper, or painting. I've had people say that about painting in the past too. Like, oh, you're painting a house today? That sucks. I love it.
That's awesome.
Because there is nothing that's going to add more value to a house than simply throwing a coat of paint on there.
Yeah.
And the value of my investment just went up.
Yeah.
Like it's the easiest, simplest thing to do. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time and whatever, but you throw on the Cash Calf podcast.
Yeah.
You listen to it while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And off you go, and you increase, like, there's value where other people don't want to do those things.
Yeah.
You know, so
And
it's
if you
just cool.
enjoy it, so that's actually one thing I love about podcasts and audiobooks is when I'm doing something that maybe I don't completely enjoy. I don't really enjoy driving even. You know, if I have to go to the next town over or whatever,
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan until I use it as a learning opportunity. It's like, well, I can listen to a podcast, and all of a sudden I drove 30 miles and I learned something.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of cool. And to me, there's so much value in these $15 audiobooks. But to someone else, they're like, I don't like nonfiction. I mean, honestly, this painting is probably more valuable to me than Elon Musk. You know, if he saw that, he might not care.
Mhm.
Well, Greg Overton built so much value in my mind that then when I won it, I was like, I'm the luckiest man on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. My wife might look at it and be like, that's a little creepy. I don't want that up in our house. But to me, it's like the coolest thing ever.
You have a story behind it too.
There's a lot of value.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, Joe Rogan has the original. Like, you have to be like that.
Like,
to
there
me
you
is
go.
way cool. Like, in some weird little way, I'm connected to Joe Rogan. He'll never know my name, but that's value.
Mhm.
And Greg Overton created that value. He's a painter, but he's not just a painter. He's an artist, but not just an artist. Like, he creates these stories and he markets them, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And that value creation is how we do everything. He's now creating value for people in the form of art or
Mhm.
NFTs. I mean, that's something I've never wrapped my head around NFTs because it's weird. But once you start to look at it in that regard, like, oh, NFTs are actually, it's pretty sweet. Someone's taken an idea and they've moved it, and they've taken it from a physical reality and put it into this digital reality. And
Mhm.
that Miriam that does the face art, she adds value to people in free TikTok videos.
Yeah.
It's just cool.
It is cool. Like, value is where it's at. And we don't even, it's interesting, even in a lot of personal development books, there's not a lot of time taken on value creation.
Mm-mm.
Or what, I mean, we don't focus on the value of things very much.
Yeah. I actually can't think of a book about value creation except for Garrett Gunderson and Killing Sacred Cows.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I'm sure there are.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't really think of one.
So some of the Napoleon Hill stuff, they talk about like, which is what we've talked about, and that's probably where we got it from, but it's talks about creating something, and when you get paid, it's a greater or equal value. You know what I mean? Like, creating.
I
even have a note about it on my phone.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It's one of the principles in the How to Own Your Own Mind book that I really like.
Oh, yeah.
I would bring it up right here if I can find it, but right there.
Should play some music in the background. Oh, wrong one.
That's the perfect one because I'm taking so long finding this. Anyway, I don't know exactly what the quote is, but it talks about that, where, like, you're not just creating value to, you're creating more value than you're getting paid for in return, or
yeah, I know exactly. Like, okay, I don't obviously know exactly, or else I would say it, but I know what quote you're talking about. And it is, you're just, and we talk about it, it's whether it's the knowledge or it's the skill or it's the mindset or it's something that you're just able to take that value, which is subjective, and put it out into a subjective world.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were talking before we hit record about a coaching company that charges $25,000 to hire them as a coach. And that's a lot of money, $25,000. But people that are willing to spend that are also putting themselves out there so much that that value is there, because then they feel obligated maybe to go out and remake that money. Well, then,
For sure.
then they teach you how to do that. So all of a sudden they're adding value to you. You're going out to the world, you're teaching, or you've learned how to go add more value. And then all of a sudden that 25,000 is made up and you're surpassing it. And like, hey, that 25,000 sure was worth it.
It might have even lit more of a fire because it was more money.
Yes.
Than you thought, maybe, you know?
Yep. No, I agree. Some skin in the game is always important. You know, we talked about a couple episodes ago about kind of stating your goals. Maybe not all of them, like those sacred goals you can kind of keep a little closer, but you know, you tell someone your goals, you kind of have to work towards them.
Yeah.
And that's not like
people
a
ask you
financial
about
thing.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Why haven't you posted on Instagram?
That's what, well, and I think I even said that I need to do better at that, but I haven't. So
no, you did.
I need to. Well, I did post. I did post, but I need to do better about putting those goals out there, you know, and doing that, because then it does light that fire a little bit.
What do you think about, since we're just kind of all over today? What do you think about, sometimes I worry about stating goals because I don't want people to think I'm boasting in any way. You know, it's like, you know, hey, I want a new dirt bike. Like my goal is a new dirt bike, but there are people out there that are like, I just want to pay my bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that?
I don't know. It's hard because no matter what we post, there's negative people on social media. You know what I mean? And so that's hard to, but I think there's a lot of value in tuning those people out.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of motivation from the people that I know that are cheering me on. You know, and so I remember I was just recently listening to a Jordan Peterson podcast, and he was interviewing the guy that was the writer for Braveheart. And I guess he was also the writer for Secretariat.
Oh,
and cool. Like has some really incredible movies, you know, that he's produced or written or whatever. And when Secretariat was getting ready to come out, he was talking to his mom on the phone, and she's like, well, how you doing? You know, and he's like, well, I'm pretty nervous, you know, I don't know how this is going to go, and nervous about this movie coming out. She said, well, if they crucified Jesus Christ, then there's probably some people that aren't going to like you, and that's okay. Cool. You know, and so I thought that was really good. Is like, there's going to be haters no matter what.
Yeah.
And we're not here to brag or boast or anything, but we are here to do better and inspire other people to do better.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
I think it's fine, but there is a mind game there. I even like the post today, you know, like that overhead carry or whatever, you know, 100 pounds or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm boasting about that.
Yeah.
But if I can help somebody be like, oh, like, because that it was in a competition format, and it like I came away from that being like, that was a lot of fun, like competing with myself to do better, and I want to go to the next one and do better than I did this time.
Yeah,
like there's something that kind of lights a fire in us doing that kind of stuff. And so I struggled today because I wasn't coming at it from a boastful stance, but a stance of, hey, go out and sign up for a race or something.
Yeah.
And push yourself to compete a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Like that was, but it is hard because we don't know how people are going to look at stuff.
For sure. And maybe if they think of stuff, they don't usually say it. So, you know, maybe they just think it, and I'm overthinking what they're thinking. But yeah, that post that I saw today of yours, like I didn't think in any way that it was a good picture.
That's cool. Well, yeah, it was a good picture. It was either your dad or Trent took it, and your wife edited it, and it turned out really good. That's cool.
They sent out other pictures today.
That's what Matt said. He texted me and was like, hey, there's other pictures out. Did you get a picture deal? And I didn't, but there are pictures. They must have taken pictures anyway. So
yeah,
that's cool.
Value is really what Cash Calf is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Like We would not tell someone to go out and sell an overpriced spatula unless somehow that spatula is adding value and it can be overpriced. Like, obviously, if people are buying that overpriced spatula, there is value there. So we're not even saying to don't sell an overpriced spatula. There just happens to be some value there that makes me think that it's overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole cash calf philosophy is add value off on the side, side hustle, side business, start to grow it and grow that value, help other people, and then let it grow into what it can become, which might be everything. And it might be just a little bit.
Yeah.
But the world needs people that are willing to do that.
For sure. It takes, you think about creating value, and it takes something where there was nothing there before, and it creates something out of it.
Yeah.
Like if you're fixing up an old car, like I've got a couple of Facebook pages that I watch that are the old pickup pages and stuff like that. Like, I really want someday to have an old square body Chevy. Yeah. Like the first pickup that I drove to school was an old beat up farm truck, square body Chevy. I can't even remember what year it was, but just fun,
Yeah.
So I've always wanted one of those. So I'm in a couple of those groups, and there's guys taking old junk cars and redoing them. Well, there was no value there before, or very little value.
Yep.
But they used their talent and their knowledge and their skill and put together and made an incredible pickup.
Yeah.
Well, there was nothing there before. Like, they created value from nothing by doing that.
Yes. And it's subjective value, because now that they've built it, someone's willing to pay for it. But they weren't willing to pay the lesser price for the lesser vehicle.
Yes.
An old rusted out International or something. Kind of like, it's a rusted out International. That's terrible. Then it gets restored and they're like, I'll spend $1 million.
That's incredible.
That.
Yeah. And there was no value there before, or very little.
Yeah.
So it magnifies, like it actually magnifies our economy. It magnifies people's lifestyles. Like, value is such a good thing that we need more of.
I think it's partly because we have a very, in a good way, I have to preface it in a good way, we have a capitalistic mentality. And the reason why I say in a good way is because true capitalism is a free market. And if there's something in the free market that people don't want, meaning I'm not adding value, I go out of business.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go out of business. So now I'm figuring out ways to add value. And poo does rise. So, if you're a crappy businessman trying to screw people over, it'll surface, and those who have not done that and they've only added value, they'll just continue to rise. The cream rises. Maybe it's not the poo.
Yeah, there you go.
Cream rises.
It does come out though, like you're saying. Like it does, the bad stuff does come out.
Yeah.
So, but it is, and I think we have a skewed sense of what true capitalism is.
For sure.
Because we don't have true capitalism in our country, and we haven't for a long time. It's crony capitalism.
Yeah.
Which means that wasn't it even Mussolini said that when governments and corporations become connected, then that's fascism?
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't quote me on that, but I think I've seen that places. But kind of what we have.
Yeah.
It's not a true capitalistic freedom and agency and liberty type of society.
Yeah.
I mean, we still do in a small way, but I think a lot of people look at capitalism the way that we have it on a huge grand scale right now, and it's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not what it is.
Equating that to success, I don't see big corporations as big successes. I see the guy who's running a side hustle that makes him really excited about life, like that's success.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jeff Bezos, it's cool. What a great story, and good for him. Starting this little online bookstore that no one believed in and thought that's kind of dumb because there's real bookstores and all, and then turns it into this multi-billion-dollar, almost trillion-dollar empire, which might be embedded with the government. That's not a successful life that I would want to lead. I want to lead waking up and being happy every day and spending time with my family. And like, that's success to me. I guess success is also relative. Today is the subjective podcast, subjective value and subjective success.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool too that you don't have to be a Jeff Bezos to have a great lifestyle and everything else in our country.
Yeah.
You know, we still, first, I was talking yesterday to somebody about this, where they were talking about, they had seen this article where a Russian family had moved out of Russia and into the United States because of this whole Ukraine thing, you know?
Yeah.
And which, you think about that, as many problems as we have in our country and society at the moment, we still have it pretty dang good. And it shows the resilience and the power of freedom and liberty, that we still have the lifestyle that we have, and that it's lasted this long. Like, it's incredible. And we still have people that are coming here because of it.
Yeah. I can't even imagine having to move because of how bad the government
War or something.
Yeah. War.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Maybe we take that for granted here, but I don't think there will ever be a war fought on the ground that we're on right now in this area.
I hope not.
But that's because I take it for granted. Like, if it does happen, oh man, that's just sad. It's crazy, but that's what happens to other people all the time, and they have to move. And we're pretty blessed.
Yeah, for sure.
But, and maybe I'll get slammed for this, but what an opportunity for them also to get to come here during this time, which with like this entrepreneurial revolution that's going on that we've talked about before. What a great time to move from Russia to the United States.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't speak in that stuff. I feel so bad for anyone who's involved in any of that, whether you're a soldier there, a family, or whatever it is. And we have friends that lived in Ukraine for a little while. So Trish, she lived there for a couple of years, and she's people that she knows that are very, very affected by this.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
what value do governments add?
Well, I think that, you know, if we go back to, there is value there, and they were instituted to add value to the people. That's their sole purpose. And the value is, you know, if we go back to, and maybe people are going to be like, oh, they're just a bunch of constitutionalists, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I am, you know, but you go back to the founding of our country, and that document, basically what the value of the government that they wrote in that was to defend the rights of the people, so they were able to live free, prosperous lives. Yeah. And that was the value that they were to create. So, you know, a common defense, you know, so that people were safe, and, you know, and basically that's like a good money system. Yep. You know, a proper money system. And that's about it. Yeah. Like, other than that, it's like, go out and figure it out on your own. Yep. And that's what's made our country great, is people going out and figuring it out on their own, you know, and we've kind of slipped from that a little bit, but so there is value there. I mean, I'm not hating on government completely.
No. Yeah, I totally agree. And for anyone who wants to get into politics, like, let the people be your driver for that value. You know, as soon as a public office, a public official starts thinking, okay, what's in this for me? You know, oh, well, I thought we were all about value creation here. You know, get in and protect the rights of people. That's what creates the value. The Constitution is a pretty good document.
It's pretty good.
I would recommend people to read it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
think of the value that the founding fathers, you know, what they gave. It was just a life, but it was George Washington's life. You know, like, that's Benjamin Franklin, like, and what they gave up for it, which is pretty cool. Yeah. That's very off the subject from what I thought we
but it's all, you know, we talk about this all the time. It's all interrelated. Yeah. You know, everything in life is kind of work, you know. So here we are, we're talking about business and work and that kind of stuff. Well, you know, educating ourselves is work. It's a way that we progress. building value to people and getting compensated for that to provide for our families. That's work.
Yeah.
Being physically fit and having, fitness, that's work. Working on our relationships. Like it's all the same thing to me. It's all connected.
And how you do anything is how you do everything. So you start working in those one areas and other areas become better as well.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I've been listening to this Zen Buddhist philosophy book. He talks a lot about attachment to our goals, which I thought was kind of interesting. Zen would say, set goals and then let the outcome go, which is kind of interesting. Maybe a little far away from value, but we look at it and we go, okay, well, this is my goal. Maybe it's to lose 20 pounds of body fat. Like, that's my goal. I've got to do that. And I'm so hooked on that that's going to happen, when what we really should be doing to find happiness and fulfillment is say, I'd like to be very healthy. And that might be that I lose 20 pounds of body fat, but I'm going to let that part go. I want to be healthy because I know there's value there. And then you just go. I don't know. It's
and
Zen.
You just focus on that.
Focus on that. And then that other stuff can happen, but it might not be the exact outcome. You hear about that people in business all the time. They'll get into a business and then it just flows them to a different place. And they're like, I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah. How do we know? That is an interesting point. How do we know when we start something that's actually
where,
like, whenever I've started anything, I never end up where I thought I would.
No,
it's completely different. And so I think that is important to take that kind of view of like, well, I'm going to go in this direction, but I'm not going to focus necessarily on one exact point. But it's hard because there's people too that are like, be very specific with your goals and the steps to get there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's okay. But looking at the outcome, let's just throw something out and say, I want to have $1 million in said bank account by October 31st, 2024. And I state that I'm so happy and grateful that I have this and that. And you let it go. And come 2024, you have $2 million worth of real estate. And you look at it and you're like, dang it, I didn't reach my goal. Well, you're actually in a way better place than holding cash in a bank. So I think it's important to set the goals, set even the benchmarks or the guideposts. Like, hey, I've got to get here and I've got to get here. But also to know that the journey is never over. So you probably will have $1 million in that bank account at some point if you're building real estate over here and over there. But it's okay that it's not exactly how you wanted it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. Yeah, it's interesting. We get so focused and caught up on some things. I have, because I'm very much that way. My wife is more like, oh, it'll all work out. Like, just let it go. And I'm like, no, like I have to, like I get very, I don't know what the word is, impatient, I guess, or whatever. It's like, well, I got to get this done right now.
Yeah.
And she's always just like, nah, it'll work out. And it always does. Like she's so smart. She's always, she's like, nah, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it. And it'll just happen the way it's supposed to. Like, she has so much faith.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Oh, faith.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is that way. Like, we always look back on something, and you do have to have things that you're working towards, I feel like, because otherwise, like, you're just going to sit on the couch all day, maybe, or something. I don't know, which would drive me nuts. But then you get to a point and you look back and you're like, that worked out better than I ever thought that it would work out. Like, I couldn't have even seen that happening. It's so weird.
And it's all stages. It's not like we set a goal and then we reach it and we're done. No, before you hit that goal that you might hit or probably are going to hit, you're setting more.
Mm-hmm.
So you're never going to land right where you want to. I don't even think that they knew exactly where to land the moon rover. They're like, oh, just get it close.
Dude, that didn't even happen.
That's true. I think the more we learn about that, we kind of know.
Of course they didn't know where to land it. But it's, have you heard that clip of Matthew McConaughey where they ask like who his hero is or whatever? And he's like, me in 10 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And
huh?
so he's like always chasing that, like gets to a point and like, okay, well, who's your hero now? Me in 10 years, like it's kind of like, which is kind of tyrannical in a way, you're like, you don't allow yourself maybe to like, hey, good, I made it. It's like, nope, you got to go a little bit further. You got the donut on the string out in front of you, but it's kind of cool though. Like,
Yeah.
never settling and just continually moving forward. Because what else are you going to do anyway?
Yeah. Well, I think the key to all of that too would be to enjoy the journey where you're at as well, which I've had a problem with in the past. It's like, well, hey, I want to get there. So I can't, I sacrifice some things so that I can get to another place. And it's like, well, actually, if I take a day and just enjoy where I'm at, is that really going to set me back? Or is that actually going to set me forward? That's probably going to put me in a better place to reach that goal than to try to suppress it.
Yeah. I like that. I've wondered that with like hobbies or whatever. Like I have a hard time taking time to go do hobbies sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've kind of come to that conclusion, like, like the tactical games.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like really it's like, oh, I got all this stuff going on this weekend and whatever. And in the past, I would probably let that get to the point where I wouldn't sign up for stuff or go do stuff. But when you go do it, it's like, okay, I networked with awesome people.
Yep.
How much better is even my business life, even though it wasn't a business thing, or how much, it was fulfilling, number one, to go and do something like that.
Yeah.
But you also are networking. Like you never know how meeting one person could change the whole trajectory of your life for the better.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of that stuff's important.
There's a book. I just listened to it. I want to listen again. I actually listened to it like 1.5 speed because I really liked it. And so I wanted to just kind of get it over with. I'll do that sometimes. I'll listen to a book really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I get the whole overview so I know what's coming. And then I'll go back and listen to it again at a slower speed. I might listen to it at 1.5 speed again and like get through it again because it's called Who, Not How. And everything you just said right there, it kind of is summed up in the book. And it's who, it almost sounds bad saying like this, but who can help us? And knowing that in who can help me, it's actually helping them. So the guy who wrote the book is not the guy who came up with Who, Not How. What happened is he was at a seminar and essentially they got together and he was like, yeah, I'd love to write a book on this stuff sometime. And that guy's like, I'm a ghostwriter. I'm a writer. I will write this book for you. He's like, perfect, because that doesn't, taking time to write something is not that's not my forte.
Yeah.
I'm here for something else.
Yeah.
Well, this guy's goal is reached. This guy's goal is reached. They're working together and they reached way more people than either of them could have done together. So who, not how. Like me messing around with a printer for 2 hours yesterday. Well, really, I should have just had a printer person come and do it. They would have been getting value because I'd pay them to do it. And then I would have 2 hours of my life back, or 2 hours that I could have been working on something really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's relationships are important.
Yeah.
Way important.
It's cool.
Yeah. It's hard to let go of some of that stuff sometimes too. You know what I mean?
Well, we have a lot of solid foundational beliefs that, we've had for 30 something years. So it's tough I'm sure we do it with more than we know. We'll just have these ingrained thoughts and it's how we are. And then all of a sudden we do something a little bit different. We're like, oh, I've been missing out on this my whole life because I just thought differently or believed differently.
It's like, oh, I can fix it myself.
Yeah.
Instead of, which is fine.
Totally fine.
But, is there another side to that of let somebody else fix it and you go do what you're really good at?
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Yeah. A good friend actually said today, he's like, why aren't you doing more on your house yourself? Because our framer fell through. So I was doing that and I was complaining and shouldn't have been about just the cost of building materials and labor and how everything's gone up. He's like, why don't you do more on your own? I was like, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Like right now, I don't want to do anything extra because I have what I feel is value going already. So if I take myself out of that, to go work on something, it'd be better served by somebody else doing that for me. There's some things I kind of like to do. It's like tile. I'll do the tile. And then it means something.
And you get enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. So it's all good. I framed it out of necessity, but then once I did it, it was kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like now I can say I built my house. It's just interesting. It all comes together. It's all intertwined, and it's all about value. It is everything. Everything. We could just do one episode and just keep posting it on value creation.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. So what are kind of the takeaways? Like we've covered a lot on value.
Yeah.
I think kind of the first one is look at the value of something and not the price of it necessarily. Separate those two things because they are separate. And so look at the, figure out and become an expert in something where you can determine the value of things and then compare the price against that. Like, that's super valuable because then you can know when, if you're going to flip something maybe, or just there's tons of ways. If you can separate value from price and make good decisions, then
things are good. It is good.
You can make some money or whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yep.
So I think that's one takeaway.
Yeah. Well, along with that, I think knowing that every single person out there has some unique ability that does add value to others. So you could take an ex-drug addict. You could say, let's just say that they say, I don't have anything. Well, are you addicted to methamphetamine now? No. You don't. So you haven't had meth in how long? 5 years. Do you have a job? No. Do you have any skills? No. You do. You stopped methamphetamine use and you can help somebody. I mean, that's a very out there, but
there's people that do that.
Yes.
There's people that do that on social media all the time.
Yeah.
They're able to connect with people in a different way than they could. Yeah.
Yeah. There are many companies out there that we would tell people like, hey, go listen to them. Go listen to their podcast, buy their books, buy their that. We resonate different with some people. Some people will listen to a podcast and they'll go, man, I got so much out of that. You're like, well, that's cool. I'm glad that you got so much out of that. The same information is available in your local Barnes and Noble. You can get it in a book, but it comes out different. We say it in a different way. It's cool.
Our experiences are different or whatever.
Yeah.
So just separate price and value. And I think that one would be everybody has value to add.
Everybody has value. Yeah.
Like there's something that you can do to add value to the world.
Yeah. I totally agree. And people need to explore that. What is it that makes them tick and makes them passionate and makes them actually want to go out and you don't have to share it. You don't have to be the person that goes out and shares what you know. It might be that you're really good at building doors. That's the value that you add.
Dude, there's some cool front doors that are
yeah.
like custom, and it's incredible what those things sell for.
Yeah.
Like, it is cool.
It is. Because there's so much.
There is.
People could go make money doing anything, and there's some type of value transfer that happens. What do we buy that's not valuable? Nothing.
I don't buy anything that doesn't have value to me, or else I wouldn't buy it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And you'll hear people that like, oh, that's overpriced, like what you were talking about earlier. Well, not to someone. You've sold a few lots, or you sold a lot of lots, like
yeah.
Obviously
the
value
value's
to
there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So yeah.
So find your value. Find that it's a
I like it.
Hashtag find your value.
Yeah, I like it.
Because
I think that's it.
Everyone's got it.
For sure.
Sweet. Well, that's
a good.
Good.
That's a good ending.
We could end actually exactly on the 1 hour mark if we go for another 50 seconds.
50 seconds. Trying to think. Could we talk about for 50 seconds? We could die. If I bring anything up, then it's like
we're going way over.
Another
hour. 40 seconds.
Yeah.
We could go another hour though.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, life's good. Today it was warm.
Yeah.
And I'm in shorts and everything.
You're breathing.
Yeah, I'm breathing. So I'm way excited for spring here in Idaho. I'm done with the winter.
Yeah. I like really, really wet springs because it keeps people coming to the gym.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Looks like it's been pretty full lately.
Yeah.
Like
it's
there's been a lot of cars. Depends on the time of day, but
Yeah. Time of day is definitely a big one. We have 7 seconds.
sweet. Well, find your value.
Find your value.